What's going on, family? DS1 Ross, and I'm back. Shout out to everybody. You know, hope everybody having a good night. Shout shout out to everybody who gonna come through tonight. Okay. I know it's a late stream, of course. Know people got to go to work and stuff like that, but I definitely want to chop it up with the family about this real quick because this is something that's very important, and I feel like it's plaguing, you know, a lot of a lot of our people's mindsets and how we are viewing things and viewing each other. So tonight, family, I'm gonna try to make this stream as short as possible. I don't know how much people gonna come through tonight and want to render their voice, but does European fashion equals black self-esteem? Does European fashion equal black self-esteem? And I say this because, I notice, since dealing with the online conscious community, I've met a lot of people who's been trying to get their businesses off the ground. And I notice a lot of black people are just trying to be more progressive. And it's been hard. It's been very difficult for them. And I think that's because of the love that we have for these European designers or these European brands or these Americanized brands. I really feel like that's the reason why, you know, we cannot, as a group, come together and support one another and make our brands just as big, if not even bigger than, you know, the brands. Hold on for 1 second. Yeah, I'm back, fam. And like I was saying, I feel like we don't see the value in what we do, and that's due to the low self-esteem that we have as a group of people. This is why we don't support each other, and we look to these European, you know, brand designers as, you know, the end all and be all, you know. I understand people like what they like, you know, but I think it's time for us to start making a concerted effort to support, you know, black fashion and the high end black fashion, because little do a lot of us know, there's a lot of, what we like to call exclusive clothing created by Black designers, and their products are created in the same factories as your Gucci's, as your Louis, as your Yves Saint Laurent's, as your Hermes. You know, these people brands are being created in the same factories. So why are we so quick to buy a pair of Gucci flip-flops for $500 when you can give your brother or your sister that same $500 for their shoes that's created by the same people, these Italian shoemakers? It's created by these same people. But you see, a lot of us don't search out for these designers either, because we're so used to having a poverty mindset that when we hear the name Gucci, when we hear the name Louis, when we hear the name Balenciaga, we think elegance, we think high level fashion, we think money. But when you hear another person that deals with their own fashion, we don't see that. We don't, they don't have the same effect. See, the reason why Kanye West, the reason why his shoes is big, because he's the one who had people, you know, going back and wearing these clothes. He had people wearing YSL. He blew these big brands up. This is why he had a problem when he wanted to create his shoe, and why those people weren't supporting him, and why those people wasn't helping him push his brand to a higher level, because he helped them. You see, so that's what we have to stop doing, family. We have to stop helping these European fashion designers become bigger than what they are, because we have to understand that a lot of these brands that we're supporting have been out forever. Gucci, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, these things been out 60, 70, 80 years. So they don't need our money. Why 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 must we continue to make these people billionaires? And I'm gonna let y'all know, you know, about two Black high-end fashion designers that I found and that I'm gonna shop with. And their shoes is made in the same factories as your Gucci, as your Louis, as your Prada, and all of those other people. And their shoes are actually cheaper, but it's made same high-end fashion, same quality. So we have to get out of that poverty mindset, family. Poverty is a mindset. It's a mindset, family. You gotta think poor first. You gotta think broke. See, broke is not something you are. Broken is a state of mind. You see? So we have to get out of that poverty mindset of looking at these European brands as something to chase. You know, we get some money in our pocket, some extra money. First thing we want to do, we want to go and see Gucci, see Louis, see Michael Kors. No, we need to start transferring that money and putting it back in these Black designers. And a lot of them don't have stores, so understand we're going to have to shop online. But we got to start making a concerted effort, because it's showing where our self-esteem lies. It lies in their concepts. It lies in their constructs. You not shit if you ain't got a pair of Gucci's on. You can't be fly if you don't wear a Hermes belt. That's the type of mindset that has to be destroyed. This is why I say white supremacy is a mindset. Everything starts in the mind. Mind is all, right? So we have to begin to use our brains to attach ourselves to the higher mind that we all like to talk about. And that higher mind is us loving self and supporting each other. That's what we have to do. We have to stop thinking, you know, this is what makes me a man. This is what makes me a woman. Because this is how our youth is growing up. They not confident if they don't got no designer belt on. They won't even show their belt if it's not no designer shit. There's something wrong with that. And we have to see and understand that there's something wrong with that mindset. And certain of us, that's a certain age, we're all plagued with it. I'm still at that age where I'm plagued with it to a certain extent. But I'm starting to purge myself of it because guess what? I don't care about what you think I got on. Because what I'm wearing, I'm representing my people. And that's more important than you thinking if that's fly or not. You see? You see? And that's why our people are not quick to wear our people's stuff. Because we don't think it's fly. We don't think it's of high quality. We think it's cheap. We think it's bullshit. Because that's how we see each other as people. We hold them other people in high regard. That's why we respect their products. This is why they create flagship stores where you can buy the high-end shit and then they create the outlet stores where you could buy the low-level shit. You see? And most of us as black people don't understand that. But that's what these high-end brands do. True Religion has a flagship store. They have certain flagship stores that you can go and buy the high-end True Religion shit. Then they got your outlet stores where you buy the low-level shit at. Same thing with Polo, Ralph Lauren. You see? And none of our brands ever could set up a flagship store because of the low support. The fact that we don't promote other brands. You see? Shout out to Nipsey Hussle. You know, he about to open up his first flagship store, Marathon Clothing. Y'all go check it out. The Marathon Clothing, TMC. Check it out. That's Nipsey Hussle. He about to open up his first flagship store. That's big. There's not a lot of black brands that have flagship stores with exclusive pieces. That's what flagship stores are. You know, that's different from your normal department store or, you know, an outlet store. You see? So we have to begin to support these other black brands so we can have more of these flagship stores. Because flagship stores is what lasts. We have to start supporting. And let's start searching out for them. Let's stop saying they're not there because that's not true. You got to seek. Seek and you shall find. We got to start looking for it. We can't just say, oh, because it's not in our immediate grab that we're not going to support. Because then that shows that we don't really, our plan is really not to support. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Peace, brother Rob. Peace. You know, happy birthday to your queen, brother. You know, good looking for coming through and showing love, bro. It's always an honor, man. You a stand-up brother. You one of the brothers on here I really, really got a lot of respect for, man. You know? Shout out to everybody else in the chat. But yeah, we have to start doing that, family. We really do, because that's going to raise our self-esteem when we could walk around and see the excellence and see the progress. You know, that's why I honor brothers that build and they able to take their thing to the next level. You know, I really, really honor that, man. And I speak highly into it. You know, I love to see a small thing grow. I love to see the underdog win. You know, and we have to understand that as a group, we're the underdogs. We're the underdogs, but we have the most potential. And they understand that. The world understands that. So we have to start implementing that influence into everything that we do. And fashion represents a lot of things because our fashion represents our culture. So at this point, who culture are we representing when we wearing their clothes? You see? And we also have to understand that behind a lot of these European, you know, brands are black fashion designers. A lot of black people create a lot of the European fashion that you see too. They just behind the scenes. You know, a lot of people don't understand that too. And that's what Kanye West was mad at, because he had a lot of input on a lot of things, you know, at a certain point with certain brands. That's why he was promoting them through their music for us to go out and buy it. And that's how he was able to develop his own thing for his own shoe. You see? So this is why it's important. We need to start really, really supporting black fashion, man. We do. We do. High end and low end. We have to. High end, low end, man. And more of us need to get into fashion. If you into art, if you into drawing, all of that is great for fashion, because people need logos, people need things. That's creating clothes. So please get into the fashion game. That's very, very important. That's part of one of the main things to sustain ourselves, which is clothing. You know, and you don't always have to, you know, design clothes. You might make, you know, you might create bath towels. You know, you might create curtains. It don't always have to be, you know, clothes. But we have to start building and start being able to support each other. Because I know a lot of black people want to support black business, but they too lazy to go out and find it. So this is why we have to, you know, become more affluent in creating things, you know, so our people can have access to it. We have to. And we really have to start supporting each other and promoting each other, and stop promoting these European brands because they don't need our money. Gucci, Louis, and all like that shit been around for 60, 70 years, man. 100 years, these names. They don't need our money. They good without us, black people. Understand that. And I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm letting you know that don't think you doing nothing because you buying that shit. Don't think you're impressing them because you have their shit on, because they don't care if you wear it, because they don't need your money. You understand? Who needs your money is your homeboy who's taking his drawings and putting them on t-shirts, and who's working every day to produce quality shirts. And that's selling his shirts for $30, $40, but you saying it's too expensive. But then your ass will go and buy a $200 white t-shirt that just got Gucci on the tag. That's the type of shit that has to stop between us, family. That mindset of thinking that your man who put his hard work, time, and energy into his clothes, that his shit is not worth $40. But an old ass European family who don't give two shits about you and who has been selling t-shirts for the last 60 years for $200, if you think that they care that you went and bought that t-shirt, you got a problem, brother. You got a problem, sister. They don't give a goddamn about that shit. They don't need our money. Your homeboy need that money. Homegirl need that money. That's trying to create, her own new form of high-end fashion as far as dresses, you know? So let's get into that. Let's stop worshiping these people because that's what we actually doing, you know? A lot of us like to say, they're against this and they're against that, but they don't understand that they mind that their actions show that they're in alignment with these people. What they spend their money on and where they spend their money at and when they do it. See, I'm not a fool, so I understand that there's a lot of things that we have to go to them for, but there's also things that we choose to spend our money on too, and that's the problem. Like when we get our taxes back, we want to go buy a Mercedes Benz, or we want to run to the True Religion outlet. You see, but when you get your taxes back, you don't go run to your homeboy who been selling t-shirts. You don't go run to your homeboy who been trying to build his brand. You don't go and spend $500 with him, but you gonna run to Gucci and go buy a pair of flip-flops for $600. And then come and stun on your homeboy who's still outside trying to bump his t-shirts. Now you walking past him trying to stun on him. That's the type of shit that needs to stop. That's what needs to stop, fam. That mentality right there. But you ain't shed no love with your brother. You see? That's the type of mindset that needs to be destroyed, family. It does. It really, really does. Because it's not helping none of us. It's not. You see? So shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody. Ernest Holmes said, that's true, but whatever the girls like, I'm rocking. And I understand that. I totally do. I understand. And when I say that, I'm speaking to the sisters too, because they have to stop agreeing that the European fashion is the way too. Because men are only gonna wear what we know women like, you know? Oh yeah, that's what we talking about. Go stay woke. That's what we talking about. That's what we talking about. The only way we could build black self-esteem is if we purge ourselves of this white supremacist mindset of believing that whatever they have for us is the way for us. And I'm just talking about fashion, you know? And I'm speaking on the aspect of fashion. Because a lot of our youth think that if they don't have on specific gear, that they are not even attractive. And you know who dictates that for our young men, our young women? So understand that too. Our young women dictate what our young men like. So if if a woman say you gotta wear Balenciagas, which is $1,000 pair of shoes, for me to think that you're a man, then the average man is gonna strive to get those $1,000 shoes because he want that woman to receive him. Exactly, sis. The white man ice is not colder. And that's what our sisters are gonna have to realize. Their shit is no better than our shit. We just gotta find the people who's doing what they're doing on their level, if not better. You see what I'm saying? Because we're all caught up in the matrix. It's not about real women and real men. Because in order for you to be a real woman or a real man, you got to go through real shit and survive it. And understand that that's what's going to make you who you are and be true to thy own self. So we got to stop thinking that, stop judging ourselves based on their standards. Because at this point, like I said, the average 16, 17-year-old kid in the ghetto, he can't not have Jordans. He can't not have LeBrons. You see? He can't not wear that. He can't not wear Giuseppe. See, these brands has become normal in the black community now. It's normal, in certain places for you to see a guy with $1,000 shoes on. New York, Atlanta, DC. It's normal now. Philly. It's normal to see Gucci's in the hood. When I was young, you didn't see that too much. That was rare. You know what I'm saying? That was rare. But now it's common because this is what mothers and fathers are going out and working for to buy for their children. Because this is what's giving their children self-esteem. That iPhone 7. They can't have a regular Android phone. You're called the bum in school. You got to have on exclusive Jordans. You see? You can't get the new Jordans late and then wear them. You're going to get laughed at. You see? So let's start supporting our brands. Let's make our brands cool. We have to redefine what's cool. And the only way we can do that is if first we stop looking down on one another and thinking that whatever we do and whatever we are and whatever we create will never be shit. See, we got to purge ourselves from that first before we can legitimately stand behind what we do financially. You see? That's like, for instance, the dude, LeVar Ball, the guy who created his sneaker. He's selling his sneaker for $500. I heard. Now, I understand a lot of people have a problem with him selling his sneakers for that much. I understand that because a lot of people can't afford it. But we can't say that we can't afford it when motherfuckers is buying Gucci flip-flops. Motherfuckers is buying slippers and spending money on that. So what's wrong with, you know, this brother selling his sneakers for $500? What's wrong with that? We have to start showing these people that we can compete on their level. And we need to get behind these people and support it and spend the money. If you got it, spend it. I'm not saying go out your way, but if you got it, spend it. And spend it with your people because that's going to help your people. Spending money with these other brands is not going to help your people. They don't care about your money. They don't need your money. Understand that. Because guess what? The more black businesses we support and we build, years from now, our children are going to be able to walk down streets in certain places and be proud of who they are. Our children are not proud of who they are because they don't see shit in the world that comes from us. They not eating in our restaurants. They're not shopping and wearing our brands. You see, this is why. And I'm not saying that so, our children could look down on other people, but it's about loving self. You see what I'm saying? We're not loving self. This is why we're not supporting each other. This is why we'll say LeVar Ball sneakers is trash and he shouldn't be selling them for that much. But motherfuckers will turn around and buy some Yves Saint Laurents that look like elf shoes that cost $2,500 and feel good about themselves wearing that shit. That's a problem. You see? That's what I'm talking about. Sit back and think about that for a minute. Think about that construct that's in our mind. That's in our brains, rather. Think about that. And how that's destroying the communication between the youth. Because certain youth in certain groups, they pride themselves on wearing European fashion. So certain kids are being outcasted and ostracized in school and in certain neighborhoods and in certain environments because they don't fit the standard. So it's further creating division. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand why black self-esteem is so low. And as a group, we're broken because of that. Because we don't motivate one another. We don't empower one another. We use things outside of us to motivate us. You know, you got dudes going to clubs taking pictures. You got 8 dudes showing their Rolexes in a circle. Add that money up, 8 Rolexes. Add that money up and tell me if dudes would have went and bought just a couple $1,000s lower of a watch, where that money could have went. You see? And see, these things, like I said, they're becoming the standard. It's becoming the standard. Because now you're starting to have these young women saying, my man has to have a Rolex. My man has to wear Balenciaga shoes, Hermes belts, $500 jeans. It's becoming the standard. And how do I know this? Because of the young dudes that's in my neighborhood. You see? I know this because their mothers is buying them this shit. Their mothers and their fathers is spending the $200-300 on the jeans, the $500 to $800 on the belts. You see? So that's what's giving these children self-esteem. You see? It's giving them their self-esteem. It's making them feel like they have a purpose. And that's what we got to understand. That's what this is about. We have to be empowered before we can build. And healing is empowering. It empowers us to see things in another way. We have to turn our pain into progress. So we have to stop letting other things represent us. And European fashion is one of them. Because what you wear ties back to your culture. You see? And you right, brother Nehemiah. Shalom to you too, brother. Good looking for coming through. You right. Knockoffs are real mind fucks. That's true. That's true. Because they're making millions of dollars off a knockoff too. And that just shows you how, like the brother said, how mind fucked we are. You know, we don't know if these outlet stores that they created from these flagship stores, we don't know if those products are really real. We don't know if they're authentic. We just may think that because, they have their own store. You see? So that's real what you said, brother. The knockoff game is real, you know? And a lot of us don't truly know what we're wearing because we can never prove it. That's true too, Terrain. It is made for dirt cheap and sold for the high. Because what's being sold is their name. And their name is connected to a so-called lifestyle and a culture. So when you hear Hermes, when you hear Yves Saint Laurent, when you hear Roberto Cavalli, first thing you think is elegance. Even I do. When I was saying them, I was thinking of chandeliers and you know wine and that's the picture that they've created behind their name. So this is why they can sell it for that. You see? But there are people supporting that is what made it real. So we have to start doing that with our brands and whatever we want to do. Stop thinking you just selling clothes. You selling a lifestyle. You see? Because that's what these other high-end brands do. They selling a lifestyle to you. You go to the Gucci store and they know you're going to buy some Gucci's. They're going to give you some wine. You're going to be sitting there trying on your shoes, drinking champagne. You see? They selling you a lifestyle. That's what they doing. They selling us a lifestyle, family. What is our lifestyle like? I'm pretty sure we have our high class, black people too. You know. So let's begin to, you know, showcase our high-end lifestyles too. And let's begin to sell our lifestyle. Let's just stop selling our lifestyle through music, through rap music. You know, this is very, very important. And that's true, bro. Some of us have this least capital mindset. That's true. And that ties into the black self-esteem issue. We lease capital because we don't think by us owning shit would really, you know, pay off. But it pays off in the long run. But we have to be confident enough to know that we'll be able to last in the long run. Definitely, tomorrow. That's a fact. That's a fact. And like I said too, a lot of them have black designers who design their stuff too. You know, we just don't know that. Kanye designed a lot of shit for these high-end designers. This is the problem that he had with them, you know. But we definitely have to start supporting it. You know, I'm gonna give y'all two websites y'all could go check out right now. I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'll put it in the chat real quick. Just give me a second. So I make sure I got everything correct. Okay. That's one. You got nagash83.com. Y'all could go check that out. That's a you know, that's one of your high-end fashion websites created all black. You know, if you into the comedic paradigm, you know, this guy creates all things for that. Shoes, hats. Y'all go check that out. Nagash83.com. Y'all also could check out androidhome.com. And Android Home is more, that's more on your high-end fashion. That's the brother who get his shoes and stuff designed in the same factories as Yves Saint Laurent, um, Gucci, Louis. He designed his shoes. They design his shoes too. The same factory. Shout out to Android Home. It's created by a black brother out in LA. You know, so before you go spend $600 on some goddamn European flip-flops that you could go get from Walmart, you know, go spend that 600 with a black man and get you something high end. You know, y'all check both of those websites out. It's made by two good black brothers. You know, Nagash Footwear. You know, that's Nagash 83. I see Terrain is already on the wave. Shout out to you, bro. You know, you support black businesses. You know, you ain't just talking this pro-black shit, but you actually doing it. I salute you for that. You know? Um, I definitely stay in my lane, Jalen. That's for sure. But this is for people who has it. Like I said, you know, I definitely preference that. If you have it, you know, if you got $600 to go waste on some flip-flops, you know, go and get that $600 to a black man, you know, who's working hard for his brand to survive in the market of Gucci and Louis. Let's keep our brands alive. You know what I'm saying? That's a fact, Megalodon. The circulation of black dollars is a revolutionary act. That's a fact. That's a fact. Recycling the black dollar. But we don't do that because of the low self-esteem that we have with each other and about each other. You know, we look at each other like we ain't shit, you know? And we have to stop that. We really, really do. So y'all could definitely go check those two sites out. That's it's in the chat, you know, androidhome.com, nagash83.com. I'm gonna put it in the chat again. You know, that's nagash83.com. And you got androidhome.com. Android Android Home is robot human. That's what that means. Androidhome.com. You know, and the Nagash stuff is very, very you know, it's very, very affordable. You know, very affordable. They got clothes, they got hats, and they got the shoes. You know, and another reason why I definitely wanted to speak on this topic too is because I saw something in the media with R&B star Tory Lanez, where this dude, you know, he went into this, you know, European store, European flagship store. See, stores like Nordstrom, um, what's the other one that everybody goes to? Saks Fifth Avenue, um, Bloomingdale's. See, these are flagship stores that carry these European brands. So he went into one of them. I forgot the name of it. This is one I never heard of, but he went in the store and spent $35,000, and the clerk disrespected him. You know, basically was talking down to him, and he was saying how he didn't understand why they was talking shit to him, and he just spent $35,000 in the store. And that goes back to him believing in his mind and him acting on the fact that European fashion gives him high self-esteem about himself. The fact that he went in this store and spent $35,000 on European bullshit, he think that he deserves respect because of doing that. Because he's able to buy European fashion, he deserves respect by the people in the store. This is what he thinks. This is what a lot of black celebrities think. Just like when Oprah tried to go in that Burberry store out in London and they kicked her ass out. And they're going to continue to do this to our celebrities because we think and we operate off of European labels and brands giving us self-esteem. We think once we're able to purchase these things, we have arrived as a people. And this is why you have people saying leave all ball sneakers being $500 cost too goddamn much, but motherfuckers is buying Gucci flip-flops like they $2. You got girls on welfare running around buying $500 flip-flops. But they don't have $500 worth of books in their house. You see? And this is what we have to understand. We have to stop letting these European fashion designers and brands give us self-esteem as a people. Because where our attention is where our money goes. Because money is nothing but currency, which is energy. So the more we continue to give the Gucci flip-flop our attention, we won't support the people who need our support. You see? Why can't we build our own brands? Why do our brands have to be a subsidiary of another brand? Why LeBron shoes can't just be LeBron? Why they gotta be sponsored by Nike? Could you imagine how much money LeBron would really have if those sneakers that was being sold didn't have a Nike check on it? Could you imagine where he would be then? But would we really support LeBron's clothing and sneakers if they weren't sponsored by Nike? That's the real question. Would we wear Jordans if they weren't sponsored by Nike? That's the question. Would we wear Kobe's if they weren't sponsored by Adidas? Would we wear Adidas if Run DMC never won? You see? So what if Run DMC was able to take the Stan Smith and push it as their shoe? You see? This is what I'm getting at, family. And why loving ourselves is more important at this point. Because once we start to love ourselves and get past the bullshit, you know, rhetoric that we have about each other, then we can do business with each other. Then the brands that I just gave y'all the websites to, then they can have their own factories and mass produce their own. Then they can be the next Ralph Lauren. Then they could be the next Roberto Cavalli. But if we don't get out of this self-hate for each other and looking at everything that we do is just some bullshit, if we don't get out that mindset, we're going to stay where we are. A bunch of low self-esteem niggas with rich habits. Because that's what we are. Low-level niggas with rich habits. Because that's the poverty mindset of thinking that spending more money makes you a better person, makes you somebody of importance. When the Europeans who buy Gucci, who buy Michael Kors, who buy this shit, you know why they buying it? Not just because they can afford it, but because it's from they fucking people. And they're supporting their own. Because ask yourself something. If your shit was in Saks Fifth Avenue next to some Gucci's, like the brother Android Home, see, his clothing is sold in Saks. A lot of us didn't even know that. But how many of us, now that we know that that brand is owned by a black man, how many of us will pick his shoe up and purchase his shoe before Louis? Just because you supporting your people. Because see, that's what the Europeans do. They purposely skip over our shit to support their own. And I'm not saying that they don't buy our shit, because they do. But they don't make us billionaire corporations. They don't make us billionaire brands. That's a fact. And that's the problem. We have to start holding each other responsible and accountable for the reasons why our situation is fucked up as a people. We can't keep blaming, oh, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that. No, we have to hold ourselves accountable too. Because like I said, when we get some extra money, first thing we think is Gucci flip-flops. We not thinking about Nagash. We not thinking about Android Home. We not thinking about Power in One clothing. We're not thinking about that. We thinking about Gucci flip-flops. We thinking about Louis Vuitton aviator shades. You see? And you got this dude, Tory Lanez, who is okay with being disrespected as a person just to go and buy European fashion. That show you how slave-minded he is. It shows you. He'll do anything to go and wear that bullshit. And that's the problem, family. That's the problem. So, I just wanted to chop it up with y'all about that, man. I know it's getting late. People got to go to work tomorrow. Shout out to everybody for coming through. Make sure y'all go check out those 2 websites. As a matter of fact, that's a fact, sis. We all are guilty. We all are. We definitely is. Because we're all programmed to a certain degree. That's a fact. When I go buy my sneakers and buy my son's sneakers too, we go look at Jordans. We go look at LeBrons and we go look at Nikes because that's what's there. But we do have to start making a concerted effort to find alternatives too and make sure we support that too. We can't keep making Nike billions and trillions of dollars. We can't keep doing that. We can't. So y'all go check those websites out. I'm gonna put them back in the chat right now. Dash83.com. You got androidhome.com, and you have PIO clothing. Got bigcartel.com. Check that out. That's Power in One clothing. Power in One clothing. So y'all go check those out. Support them. I'll be back tomorrow, family, with another informative show for y'all. Good looking for coming through and staying up with your brother. This is DS1 Ross, of course. And this is Sheep Stay Sleep Live. And I advise all the sheep to stay sleep. If you want to stay stuck in the matrix, it's all good. We all not here to be woke. So shout out to everybody. You know, make sure y'all go and support those black businesses, man. You know, everybody. I want to make sure that we supporting our people, man. We not just talking about it, but we actually doing something and doing as much as we can, because it starts out just with, you know, us showing some appreciation by us just purchasing something from each other, you know. So like I say, sheep stay sleep. You just tuned in to Sheep Stay Sleep Live. Everybody, y'all have a good day at work tomorrow. You know, and I chop it up with y'all tomorrow, family. DS1 Ross, and I'm out. Peace.